Orion Township Board of Trustees to order for Monday, June 20th. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for your patience. We're a few minutes behind schedule. It's 7:07. We had a board workshop that ran a little long before this meeting. But welcome. If you are here, please silence your cell phone. I do the best I can to keep it entertaining and at least show the things that we're talking about on the screen. But you can also follow along. Everything we see, you can see. You can find that on our website. So at this time, we would like to ask everyone, and we do have a pastor in the house. Are you willing to lead us? All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, no, I didn't ask the clerk to call the roll.
Everyone is present.
All right, the board is all present. If you would stand, and please remain standing after the invocation for our pledge. And we have a special guest tonight from the St. Mary's. So if you want to introduce yourself and tell us why you're here, that'd be awesome, first of all.
Right here. This is good?
Yes, perfect.
Very good. I'm Father Andy Guffey from St. Mary's in the Hills Episcopal Church, right down the road. And it is our honor to be here for the proclamation tonight and just to be with you in general. So.
All right, and thank you for being willing to be called on without notice. So
Absolutely.
Thank you, Father Andy.
Absolutely. Hey, it's my job, isn't it? So as you will, let us pray. Dear God, we thank you for this township and for our common life, for the bonds that bind us together in affection and in mutual esteem and in the tasks that are laid before us. We thank you for our civil servants, for all those who work for the common welfare of this place. And may your presence be with us, may your grace rest upon us this evening during the course of this meeting and all the days of our life. This we pray, and we all say, Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Father Andy. Thank you all. Welcome. We have a somewhat lengthy agenda tonight, so we will jump right into it. Tonight we have a public hearing on our Lake Orion Water Quality Control Special Assessment District Number 2 cost estimate. If you are here tonight to discuss this is your opportunity. Clerk Schultz, I will toss it to you first, like we normally do, and then we'll open it up to the public.
Okay, so the purpose of the public hearing is to hear from you. The Lake Orion Water Quality Control Special Assessment District Number 2 Preliminary Cost Plan Estimate and Work Plan. The board set this public hearing at a regular meeting, and it has been published. We've received comments from the community, and I'll name those off after our public comments here in person are done.
All right. So tonight, if you're here to talk about this in favor or against, or you want your comments on the record, this is your opportunity. So if you would please come to the podium, we will need your name and your address for the record.
Good morning, Tom. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Tom DiAugustino, 862 Dollar Bay. Just a few comments. First of all, I'm not at all happy with the quality of the work that's been done this year or last year. I live in Dollar Bay, as some of you know, and I've seen other portions of the lake where the weed control has been very ineffective. And they've already had one application this year. It seems to be more fertilizer than weed control. In addition, on the south side of Dollar Bay, they never come in alongside the shoreline because of their concern with the lily pads. I have met with them in years gone by and instructed them that they should come in, and they've had some benefit. So I don't necessarily oppose this. I'm happy to pay my $121, but I want to see some benefit for that. I don't know how you guys can control that and ensure that what they're doing is going to be effective, but right now I've seen no value. The other thing I wanted to ask, I can't tell from the map, but are the channels or canals of Marina Point part of this special district or any portion of Marina Point? And if not, why not?
Okay. Thank you. Right now, we're just taking public comment. We'll answer the questions. That's how it works if you're not familiar. We'll just take public comment at this time, and then we will do our best to answer questions after the public comment.
Good evening, board members, attendees, and on-TV viewers. I'm Dino Siriaco, president of LOLA. We got PLM Regional Manager James Schrader with us today, and then also Jerry Richards, he's a board member. If approved, SAD number 2 will allow the continuation of the aquatic plant management on Lake Orion consistent with the treatment strategies applied under SAD number 1. The goal of the proposed aquatic plant management program is to control invasive aquatic plants and improvements of water quality while preserving natural plants sufficient to provide habitat for fish and other aquatic organisms. Invasive weeds include Eurasian water milfoid, curly leaf pondweed, starry stonewort, and algae. An effective water management program is essential and important in maintaining Lake Orion as a true asset for lakefront property owners and the community at large. SAD number 1, implemented in 2015, has been very successful. The graph provided in your board package shows a significant improvement of the water qualities and reduction of aquatic weeds with the management measurements applied over the last 7 years. PLM Regional Manager James Schrader is here to provide an overview of the program improvements over the last 7 years.
Thank you, Dino. Hi, my name is James Shear. I am the Regional Manager at PLM East. We have been overseeing the program at Lake Orion since 2013-14, prior to the assessment, the first special assessment district through an individual program. During the 2015 year, they implemented this first SAD-1 to treat for the invasive plants that Dino mentioned, primarily starry stonewort and Eurasian water milfoil, both widely spread in the lake. Our data we've gathered outside of just the treatment program has shown successful results in control of these invasive species. I don't know if you had a chance to look over the pack that was provided in the graphs, but there has been a significant decrease in the starry stonewort lake-wide from 2016 till now, with also a very successful management program for Eurasian water milfoil and recovery of native species lake-wide. The continued need for this program is part of the program. What we do is when we do the water quality monitoring, I don't know if you get to that part there, but we log water quality data for nutrient load for phosphorus and nitrogen, and you could see on our graph the stabilization of both of those, as well as sustained water clarity. The treatments have had no negative impact on the lake's overall water quality. In conjunction with that, we do yearly vegetation reporting, once again, to show the trends of the plants. The gentleman who asked about Marina Park Estates, that is a separate SAD that we do manage. They are not part of this SAD. They're their separate own entity. So there you can see the cumulative cover of plants trends and the decrease of both starry stonewort and Eurasian water milfoil, and the stabilization of the trend for the native plant community on the green line. Those are ideal numbers. The 60 there on the aquatic plant cumulative cover is pretty average for a lake. When you get north of that into the 80s and 100s, people refer to them as weedy lakes. So Lake Orion's a beautiful lake, and I think it's important that we keep this program going to control these invasive species. Left unchecked, they will return to their prior range. So thank you with that. And
Okay. Thank you. Anything else you want to add, Jerry?
Yes, please. My name is Jerry Richards, and as Dino said, I am also on the Lake Orion Lake Association Board. And I just wanted to give you a little oversight on the whole petition process that we had. Prior to circulating the petitions for signature, information booklets were prepared and sent out to all of the residents on the lake. And these booklets contained a lot of key information. First was a copy of the September 17, 2021 DNR findings from the investigation of the carp issue. We had a LOLA letter of intent to establish the new SAD and the petition wording. Also in there was LOLA's frequently asked questions and answers. We had the PLM report of water quality and vegetation summary from 2015 to 2022. This has been updated to show 2021 as well. We didn't have that data when we put the packet together. and we had PLM's summary of their Qs and As. And we also inserted a LOLA membership form. The booklets are available online at lolainfo.org, lolainfo.org. Click on it, it'll open up, and you can print it, you can look at it. Just a couple other highlights. The COVID was a challenge in obtaining petition signatures, as residents were hesitant to answer their doors, but we were still able to get the job done. Signed petitions were returned December 20th to the township for signature validation. Township review and the validation of the petition signatures determined that the signatures represented 51% of the total land area for the proposed SAD. We've already covered the weed treatment objectives, so I won't do that again. I'm sorry?
71%.
Did I? 71. I can't read my own writing. We've already talked about the weed treatment cost. Oh, no, we did not. We did look at 3 weed service providers. We looked at 3 that actually work in our area, and one company had declined to bid due to staffing and supply chain issues. Supply chain issues being getting the chemicals that we needed to have to treat the weeds. The Lola board selected PLM as the service provider based on cost, staffing stability, proactive material planning and inventory controls, an in-depth knowledge of our Lake Orion weed issues, excellent past service performance, and we notified the Township Supervisor's Office that PLM was selected as our provider, along with a copy of the PLM treatment plan. So the thing is that worked really hard. I think we got a lot of great results now, and we certainly don't want to see our lake go backwards, because there's a real need to control weeds. We know that some folks don't like chemical, but the harvesting is proven to actually make weeds worse, because when you cut the weed, just like cutting your lawn, you have all those fragments drop to the bottom, and they start growing new weeds. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, we're continuing to be open for public comment. This is an action item on pending business, so, I'm sorry, were you not done?
No, we're good.
Okay, there will be potential board action on this in the first item of pending, but right now we're just taking comments and obviously that brief presentation.
We're still taking comments?
Yep.
Okay. My name is John Strand, 118 Highland Avenue, Lake Orion. I live on Bellevue Island. I've lived there since 1990. I know what the lake is like before treatment. I know what the lake is like partially treated, and I know what the lake is fully treated. I am totally in favor of the treatment. I can now swim at the end of my dock, where in years past, the weeds were so thick that it would be a dangerous situation. So I'm just in favor of continuing this process and moving on.
Thank you. Anyone else? And if you want to just kind of queue up, that'd be fine as well, if you want.
My name is Craig Stephen. I live at 83 North Shore, about halfway between Flint and Church, right on the lake. We've lived there for over 25 years and have a little over 150 feet of frontage on the lake. At the outset, I want to say I am strongly in favor of renewing this SAD with PLM. Before it was established, I would spend about 4 days per week, half hour per day, 20 weeks per year, mucking out weeds from our shoreline. I'm willing to do this because we enjoy a beautiful sandy beach with no seawall, and want to preserve and improve it. The weed mucking process involves wading out into the mass of weeds, lining the shoreline 5 to 10 feet out, and using a hay fork to scoop up a batch of wet weeds, approximately 40 pounds each, and letting them drain briefly, then throwing them onto the shore to dry for later composting. It's hard work, and most of a ton was removed per day. So, Fast forward to during the PLM lake and land management treatments, I've put the hay fork away because there are virtually no weeds drifting into our shore. Not on Mondays, not even on Mondays when following heavy traffic weekends, and not ever. Shore erosion is a growing problem, but that's an issue for a different meeting. In conclusion, I want to emphasize that I am strongly in favor of renewing this SAD, and furthermore, want to express my deepest gratitude to the professionals at PLM Lake and Land Management for their continued service keeping the weeds at bay in Lake Orion, both cost effectively and with no significant environmental repercussions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Heather Lossing, and I live at 586 Fernhurst Court. And I would like to agree with what the gentleman said. The quality of the lake has gotten better, so I'm grateful for that. However, to the PLM team, I'd like to ask that you start earlier. I live on Fernhurst, but on the farthest northern canal, and our canal is a mess. It has not been effective in that area. They were out there today spraying only the second treatment. It needs to start in April. It cannot start in late May. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom Patterson. I live at 65 North Shore. And I would just like to thank PLM for everything they've done here. We subscribed to the program before it became part of the SAD. I've lived here since 1999, and I've never seen the lake look better. I, like the first gentleman that was up here, thought, gee, it's not killing all the weeds in the lake. Well, it's not. My fish population is doing very, very well right off the end of my deck. And I think the weeds that are there are natural weeds that are supposed to be there, and I don't see any of the Eurasian milfoil that we had before. Yeah, they've done a magnificent job, so I am totally for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
Well, my name's Joseph Bellinger. I live at 140 South Andrews on the east side, a little bay area. I've been here 47 years. Used to be, my kids were little and they'd gone to go swimming in the summer, and first thing I'd have to do is get in the water with them, and while they find the deeper water, I would be throwing weeds up on the shore. So those weeds didn't grow there. They had a nice sandy bottom. However, the weeds are so heavy in the lake that the boats going by cut them, and due to where I sit in that bay, the current would pull them in, and so we'd end up with a lot of weeds. So basically, I'm happy with the SAD for many of the reasons that have already been stated. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if there's anyone else, if you want to just come get in line, or we'll close it after this one.
I think you could close it before this one, because I'm obsolete here. I'm 91. I've lived in the house I'm in on Lake Orion, 397 North Shore Drive, for 65 years. Been in Lake Orion 85 years, and because I've lived the time I have lived, which is a little before these people have lived where I've lived, they don't know what they missed. That's my thoughts of time past converted today. I never heard or disrespect anything that was said, and I agree with most of it. But as I say, they're mostly all younger. They don't know what they missed. Because I was here before there were any boats. And I was here before there was certainly a Lake Orion Lake Association. But incidentally, they've done a great job. There's no disrespect here for doing what they think they've done. They've done it professionally. I'm not in that position to spend the time or the money that they've presented here today, but and in today's time, I'm only here because the house I'm living in and have bought 65 years ago is going to be given to my children and my grandchildren. They've used the place. They're used of what used to be, because they're 30, 40 years old, like a lot of these guys. And they were there when the old turtles and the frogs, you could hear them squawk along the coves that they're talking about. And I remember almost all the addresses that were spoke here, and I understand where they're coming from. And without wasting any more time, I just want to let you know that the older folks, like everything in society, lived a different life. And I certainly wouldn't trade the life and time, as you've heard from your grandparents, that I've lived compared to what's going on today with all the boats and the waves and the things that are going on. But I still get weeds there regardless of what you hear here. They've been cleared up probably by about 80% or so. And I know all the stats say that the stuff they're putting in the lake doesn't hurt nothing, but I guarantee anybody's lived around there for 70 years used to hear frogs croak every day and night and the crickets sing. Don't hear them anymore. Now, how that's happened after 8 years of controlled weed control, I don't know. And I'm sure here, if the board is the final answer, the yes or no vote, it's going to be a yes vote to keep what's going on. But I'm against it because of my past life and the way I lived. So with that, I'll say amen and God bless.
Thank you, sir. Can we get your name for the record, just so we have it?
The name again is Dwayne Decker,
I know you, but I don't think you said it, so I know.
397 North Shore
Gotcha.
Drive. I know you, Chris, better than you think I do too. So.
No, I know you, but if you're
I got a
opposing
picture,
this and you
I
want
got
to
a
chip,
picture here, right here. And I can find your picture almost everywhere.
here I
You're
am in
doing
real
a good
life.
job.
Thank you, sir.
And I appreciate what
I
you
know
do.
you're a friend of mine. I just want, for the record, we have to have your name if you're giving comments potentially against it, so it protects and preserves your right to protest later. So that's all, I know who you are, but thank you, sir.
There's a lot of records today of what's going on in society. It's not all good.
Mr. Decker, thank you. It's always good to see you. And thanks for the history. It's good. All right.
Hello, my name is Burton Poisson. I'm 22900 Shader Street, Clinton Township. I'm on the other end of the spectrum of Dwayne. I just bought property on Hill Street January of this year, plan building a new house, and I've been very impressed with the lake and how it's looked, and their canal area is very nice so far too. I hope that gets treated well. But for my plans for my retirement home here and spend the rest of my life here, I'm hoping to have clean, lovely lake that I can have family and friends and everybody enjoy our lake off my shoreline. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Poisson. And welcome to Orion. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll bring it back up here. We did receive some written correspondence. Do you want to just go over that?
Sure. So in favor, we have Eileen Hoffman, 188 Park Island, Robert and Nancy Wade, 121 Laketon, Colette and Robert Judge, 55 North Shore Drive, Matt Blaine of 27 Chamberlain, Timothy Albin of 281 Shady Oaks, Ron Lovell, 57 Chamberlain Street, Lee and Jesse Richmond, 352 Heights Road, Josias Milwaukee, pardon me for not saying that right, 658 and 664 Victoria Island, and that last name is spelled M-I-K-A-I-L-A. Dan Clayton of 480, 484, and 1 vacant Cushing. Beth and Jeffrey Lofre of 330 Hill Street. George Meeker of 475 Indianwood Road. Hannah and Carl Rohrig of 219 Bellevue. Stella and Johannes Merrick of 354 North Shore Drive. Robert and Denise Weisner of 532. They all support. And opposed to the special assessment district is Bradley and Sandra Hover, 376 Bellevue Avenue, Mary Lemerud of 411 Heights Road, and Jill Dresinger, Dressissigaker of 674 King Circle.
Okay. Okay, seeing no one else at the podium and reading into the record, the written correspondence we've received, we will declare that public hearing was held at 7:32. And if this is strange to you, this is how this works. We will be taking this item up on our first item of pending business, and the board will decide if we're going to be moving forward with this Special Assessment District. Just one quick note if someone has to leave. I usually say this when we're doing SADs. Sometimes this might be the only time you've ever set foot in this building. We're glad you're here. But this is the truest form of a direct tax, and it's self-imposed. It's started by the residents. The only thing the township does is we follow the law, the statute that governs this. We collect the money, and we make sure the contractors get paid. But the residents, the people that assemble and put together the special assessment district, pick the contractors. They do all that process. The one thing we do is we make sure we collect the taxes from everyone, and we make sure the contractors get paid. That's our role, and it's our job, and it's our practice to make sure that there's at least 51% of the people that will be in the district in favor before we even start the process. And I know with everything going on in the world, it's a Herculean effort to get, this is our largest SAD by far. These are administered out of my office. Julie Savard does a great job, but I know you guys have done a ton of work to try to get out there and get signatures in a really tough time to do that. So we will be taking this as an action item shortly, and can answer any questions that weren't answered at that time. But for now, we will move on in our agenda to, we have two proclamations tonight. And the first one is exciting, and well, they both are exciting, but the first one, we have some special guests here, and you got to meet Father Andy Guffney, did I say it right? Guffey, who joined us during COVID, and he was on our COVID response team, and we met in person for the first time today. We had lots of Zoom meetings. But this is a pretty exciting thing because St. Mary's in the Hills Episcopal Church is celebrating their 70th anniversary right here in our community. And so we wanted to just take a moment to say, whereas St. Mary's in the Hills Church began its mission of All Saints Episcopal Church in Pontiac on June 19, 1952, in the building that was originally the Nina Scripps School, originally constructed in 1924 and used for workers, children on the Scripps farm, right here with some great history. And whereas the church grew rapidly and became a parish in 1956, and whereas an undercroft was built for the growing church with a new worship area built in 1970, and the fellowship hall in 2007, some of you remember that, St. Mary's in the Hills continues to be a growing community in Orion Township. And whereas for over a dozen years, St. Mary's held a county fair that was attended by the entire community, in 1977, Reverend John Albrecht gave the shortest one-word sermon, love. Now, some of us could go to that church service. And whereas St. Mary's in the Hills, sorry, Mom, parish is the home to Boy Scout Troop 128 and St. Mary's Outdoor Chapel and Stations of the Cross, built as Eagle Scout projects. And whereas through the St. Mary's outreach ministries, including Crossroads in Detroit, Crop Walk, Fifth Monday Meals in Lake Orion, and Love Inc. Clothes Closet, the Orion community has been richly benefiting from their 70-year presence in our community. Now, therefore, on behalf of all who have been touched by the ministry of St. Mary's in the Hills Episcopal Church, we join in the celebration of their 70th anniversary and wish them continued success, grace, and blessing upon this beautiful place of worship for the next 70 years. I sign that on behalf of the Township Board. So we want to say congratulations, and I don't know if you wanted to say anything or introduce anyone, but I know you have some members of your parish here, and this proclamation does just touch the tip of the iceberg of all that you guys have done for our community. So we had to keep it one page.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you, Board. Thank you all who are here. I'll make it brief. It won't be one word, but it'll be close. I do have some of the faithful from St. Mary's back here, and they are also very grateful, and I just wanted to extend my thanks to you all and to assure you that we are eager to continue to find ways to be of service here in the community and to partner with the township in any way that we can to help all those in need and to make this a great place to live.
Awesome, thank you. And the clerk wants to add one more whereas.
Whereas you're a voting precinct, you've been for decades, and we're very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations. That's awesome. And if you're new to the area, it's a great place to check out. We do have one, this was kind of added tonight. We wanted to recognize, we have also this week is recognized as Amateur Radio Week. So whereas amateur radio operators are celebrating over a century of broadcasting the human voice over airwaves, and it's been used to build bridges between people, societies, and countries through the sharing of ideas and creation of friendship. Whereas amateur radio operators, some of them are called hams, provide countless of hours of community service to other local organizations throughout these decades. And the state recognized their service to amateur radios for emergency response organizations, including local and government-served agencies. And it's a free service to the public. And these individuals demonstrate their value in public assistance by providing free communications for parades, bike-a-thons, walk-a-thons, fairs. The list goes on. Now, therefore, I, Chris Barnett, Supervisor of Charter Township of Orion, do hereby proclaim this week, June 19th to 25th, as Amateur Radio Week in Orion Township. And we do, are there any of our amateur radio members in the group, in the room? Aaron, we do have an amateur radio group that meets at the Orion Center. Every Thursday. So if you're here and interested or watching at home, you can come check it out every Thursday at the Orion Center in the evening, right? Very cool. All right, that brings us to, we have a few presentations tonight. First presentation you may have seen when you walked in. I'm going to invite the fire chief or the assistant chief or both of them to share, or whoever you want. I'm going to turn it over to you. All right. We want to, we are commissioning 2 new vehicles, and I don't know how we do this.
You got to make Chief come up, too.
He's right there.
Good.
Do we break like a bottle of champagne on the side, or that's a, I know it's a boat.
Come on, Chief.
You want to drink the champagne.
Right. Well, I didn't know I was going to have to come up here, but hi, I'm John Pender. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief. Last week, we took delivery of our brand-new fire engine from Sutphin and a new ambulance. The fire engine was about a year in the making, from point of design, from our heads on a piece of paper to the truck that you see out back there. It starts our replacement plan for our fleet that you guys approved 2 years ago, so we're very grateful and very happy. Truck should be in service in about 2 weeks. We're waiting for a few more equipment and then the training for everybody to move on to it. So we're super excited. It's out there if anybody wants to see it. And the new ambulance is there also. So. And it is red.
It's red. All our trucks will be red. We're phasing out the yellow. Penny?
We would have all been out there if we weren't in our workshop. Thanks for bringing it all up.
Oh, absolutely. We understand.
And I think it already moved once, but, and just, it's a great opportunity. We have a more full boardroom than normal, just because there's lots of things on the agenda tonight, but to thank our residents for the support of our fire department and the millages over the years. 10 years ago when I started, we had 3 full-time firefighters, and you'll see shortly, we'll have a couple more, but we have shifted from a fully paid on call, or what people might call a volunteer fire service, to a professional fire organization that provides advanced life support services, and we still do that really cost effective compared to our neighbors. So thank you to the residents that are here and watching at home for your support, and we do like to show that equipment when we take delivery. So any questions from the board?
Yeah, John, where will that engine be stationed at?
At Station 3.
Station 3 is at headquarters.
At headquarters.
I'll stop in and see it on the way home time.
Tell everyone where Station 3 is, because they don't all know.
3365 Gregory Road, which is also our fire headquarters. So anybody can stop in and see it. It'll be there.
Gingerville.
Gingerville.
Used to be known as.
All right, thank you. So appreciate that update. We'll move on to everyone's favorite time of year, the audit presentation. We're joined by our friends at Plant Moran for a presentation, and then we will be receiving and filing the audit shortly. I'm going to turn over control, if I did it right.
The computer went to sleep, but.
Oh, it did? Okay.
It's really excited about the presentation. But while we're waiting for that, I will go ahead and start. I'm Stacy Reeves. I'm the engagement partner on the audit engagement. With me today is Dana Delboy, who is the manager on the engagement. We are going to cover a brief summary of the audit results, but also available for any questions that you have as it relates to the financial statements or any of the communications that we have. In the large packet that you received, I do want to cover our opinion because that is the only part of the presentation that actually belongs to us. Within the financial statements, it's right after the table of contents. And you'll see it looks a little bit different this year. There was a new standard that actually put the opinion first so you could see it when you first start reading, which is a novel concept. You'll see that the opinion is an unmodified or clean opinion, which is the highest level of assertion that we can offer that the financial statements are free of material misstatements. You'll also note that there is an emphasis of matter paragraph about 3/4 of the way down on that first page, just noting that you did have a change in accounting policy related to your building department fund. That fund is now separate from the general fund within the financial statements so that you can have more transparency as related to the activity of that fund. Both mechanisms were allowed. The township decided to move to this fund so that, again, it would be separately stated within the statements, and we're just notifying you of that change. You'll also notice, as you look through the opinion, that this year, the township audit was conducted under government auditing standards because of the rescue plan funds that were spent by the township during the year. So in addition to the financial statement audit, we're also in the process of finalizing our single audit or federal awards audit. That audit is due 9 months after the end of the year versus the 6 that the financial statements are due. So we'll be finalizing that audit over the next several weeks and then filing that with the federal government as well as the state. If there are no questions about the opinion, we'll go ahead and cover some highlights related to the financial statements through the graph presentation and then cover the letters.
Good evening, everyone. As Stacy mentioned, I will be covering the slide presentations, which is really just the financial highlights of 2021. So if you have any questions or concerns or would like us to expand on any points as we go through the presentation, please just let me know. So this first slide is showing the past 3 years of revenue within the township's governmental funds. So this includes the general fund, police and fire funds, parks and rec fund, capital improvement funds, and special assessment funds. This does not include the business type activity or the fiduciary funds. Revenues increased in the current year by approximately $4.9 million. And you can see listed below, there was an increase in most of the categories with the biggest driver in property taxes related to the increase in the police and fire millages. This next slide shows a breakdown just of the general fund revenues by source. You can see property taxes and state sources collectively make up about 71% of the total general fund revenue. Property tax revenue growth is generally limited to the lesser of 5% or inflation, and inflation has averaged about 2% for at least the last 5 years, but is now on the rise well over 5%. So state sources are constrained by state budgets, the amount of sales tax, and other factors. So really, as a result, this slide tells us that a significant majority of general fund revenue is constrained by factors outside of the township's control. So budgeting and forecasting is really important to make sure any additions to spending are thoroughly thought through because the ability to increase revenue to cover the expenditures is limited. This slide shows the past 3 years of expenditures within the township's governmental funds. Increase in the current year primarily relates to the construction of the new township hall. So total expenditures were $37.5 million and compared to the $23.2 million last year. And this is the first year you'll see that the debt service expenditures are incurred in the governmental funds associated with the bonds issued to finance the new township hall as well. This next slide provides a breakdown of the general fund expenditures by category. As you can see, salaries and wages continue to make up the largest portion of expenditures, which is not surprising since governmental work is people-driven. The second largest bucket you can see is related to contractual services. The township sometimes will contract out work that other communities might have on staff to handle, and as a result, this percentage of expenditures that is under the contractual services bucket is a little bit higher than what we would see normally at a city, for example. But overall, this really just shows that personnel costs are just shy of about 80% of the general fund expenditures. This next slide shows us the general fund's unassigned fund balance over the past 3 years. So for each year, we have presented the annual revenues, annual expenditures, and unassigned fund balance, which is the portion of fund balance that has not been set aside for specific purposes. Overall, the unassigned fund balance as a percentage of expenditures is down from 2020, and the main driver of that is just higher general fund expenditures and a bigger share of the general fund balance being assigned, which is mostly related to the community improvement program. This next slide shows the general fund balance for the last 3 years by category. And we can see overall fund balance has decreased by approximately 2.1 million, with the largest decrease to restricted and unassigned fund balance. And then lastly here, just a few key points related to the township's financial outlook in the interest of providing additional value to the township beyond the audit. So the first bullet point there relates to just the pandemic resulting in an increase in federal, state, and local funding to governmental units, which has really provided the township a one-time inflow of resources, which has created an opportunity for strategic investment within the community. And then, as mentioned in an earlier slide, inflation is in excess of 5%, which will result in some budgetary pressure due to statutory limitations on property tax revenue increases. Additionally, this could impact the reliability of financial projections, so really modeling out multiple scenarios will provide the township with the ability to adjust as the situation evolves. And then lastly, the labor market remains tight, especially for technical and skilled positions. So we would recommend that the township continue to evaluate its current operating structure to best maximize its current resources while maintaining sound internal controls, as well as compensation and benefit package competitiveness, which is a across-the-board recommendation. So.
You can say that one twice.
Any questions on the presentation?
Go ahead, Donna.
Just real quick, when did you say that the ARPA audit would be completed?
9 months.
It'll be completed in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, because I think it helps to have that in order to start with the budget for next year, I hope so.
All right. Any other questions from board members? Yeah, Mr. Flood.
I totally agree with you, that second statement about the inflation. I think we got to really watch our P's and Q's. I hate to see us go into a recession. We've been through that already. We know we just got our assessment. Just got it back this year from 2008 when the housing market went.
Yes.
Yeah. Hate to see us go through that again. That's my comment.
I want to just state that I completely agree with what's happening in your bullet point number 2 or 3 rather. I've experienced that in my department in several of the last hires where we just didn't have the applicants applying and the qualifications as well.
Okay, are there any other questions from board members? Seeing none.
The other 2 items I'll just briefly cover would be the required communications that we issue as part of the financial statement audit as well. You'll see there are 2 letters that have been issued. Because of this single audit, we are required to issue a report on internal controls related to the financial statement audit. And so that is the first letter that I would like to cover. And it is labeled Independent Auditor's Report. It's just a few pages, but as part of the audit process, we don't issue an opinion on internal controls, but if we identify any instances where there are deficiencies in internal controls, we are required to report those to you. You've seen these in the past, usually combined with the other letter when there's not a single audit, but in this time, it's a separate letter. If you read through the letter and you look at the last 2 pages, it identifies the areas where we identified internal control deficiencies. And the first item is one, again, that isn't uncommon. You've seen it in the past, relates to audit adjustments as part of the audit process. So as auditors, if we identify any adjustments to the trial balances after we receive them, we just have to let you know that we made those adjustments as part of the audit process. We did identify adjustments this year. Most of those adjustments related to the closing accrual process. So your depreciation, your capital assets, things that you don't do on a daily basis. Your daily accounting for revenues and expenses were primarily accounted for timely and accurately. These accounting entries that happen at the end of the year can be more complicated and a little bit more unique. And so we assisted with some of those entries, and that's what that is explaining to you. The second item relates to different internal controls related to reviews of reconciliations, as well as some of the IT journal entry processes. The township did have a lot of transition this year in staffing, and because of that, some of those controls were delayed or didn't operate as they had in prior years. So we've had those conversations with those departments and made recommendations related to those controls, and the township will need to assess how to address that. Any questions on the letter? The other letter is our annual end of audit letter that you're common to see. We really just talk about whether or not there were any challenges in reaching our opinion or any challenges in the audit process. As you look at the letter, which really begins on page 2, talks about our responsibilities as part of the audit process. Also talks about whether or not there are any significant estimates involved in the process. The estimates that we mentioned there are estimates that we've talked about in the past related to insurance liabilities and things that are just a little bit harder to value as part of the process. One thing we do know under difficulties encountered during the audit is the audit did take a little bit longer this year than it has in the past. There were some delays in receiving the closed trial balances, again, as it related to the transition process and some adjustments that were made as part of that process. So we just bring that to your attention. You still are filing the audit on time by the state required deadline, which is a significant accomplishment given the transition that you had as well as the federal awards that were spent during the year. So we really appreciate all of the responsiveness and collaboration that we received from the township because we know it was not an easy process for the township. The other item talks about adjustments that were made as well as passed on as part of the audit process, but that's also disclosed in the letter I already covered, so I won't spend time on that. If you look at the third section of the letter, this is really just some information for you related to some upcoming changes that you might want to be aware of. The federal procurement process is changing a little bit as it relates to thresholds. That will be important. If some of the infrastructure funding through that bill comes to you and you need to address how you might spend that, you just want to be aware of those changes so that you can make sure that you're incorporating that into your procurement process. We've seen a lot of cyber attacks throughout our client base, and you hear about them in the news very often. So there's just an item in here too related to some additional controls that you may want to consider for that. Any other questions?
Other questions?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to Plant Moran. I think you do an outstanding job, and we did have a lot of transition. The general ledger, accounts payable, and payroll is housed in my department, and I always appreciate your expertise as well as your professionalism. I know it did take a lot longer to complete the audit, but it was very thorough, and that's our goal in the end. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we need a motion at this point?
Yes, I will make one.
Okay, go ahead.
You're done, Stacy?
I am.
Okay, Dana? Thank you. I move to accept the 2021 audit as presented and authorize the filing of the audit and management letter with the local audit division of the Michigan Department of Treasury.
Support.
Okay, any comments or discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And this is all available on our website. If you're interested at home or here, you want to read all these great things, we'd love to have you do that. All right, moving on. Approval of our bill. Not even yet. We have one more presentation. I got a lot of stuff on the front end of this meeting. We have a partner in Lansing, Midwest Strategy Group. They're here to give us an update, I think a brief update. And I have your presentation here.
Excited about that audit, Mr. Supervisor.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us today. Dave Hodgkins, Mike Campagnoni from Midwest Strategy Group. We provide government relations consultation for the township up in Lansing. We like to come down a few times a year just to give kind of a high-level update about what's going on in Lansing and then some of the things that we're actually doing specifically for the township. So, Mr. Supervisor, if you want to. So it is hot and heavy in the budget season. We've got about 2 weeks left of negotiations. A couple days this week, 1 day next week is what we're hearing. Up here you can see some of the high-level topics for the executive budget recommendation. This is going to be the biggest budget that we have seen in the state history, largely due to a lot of federal funding, ARPA and IIJA dollars, kind of bumping that up a little bit. Infrastructure is obviously going to be a huge theme. Mike will talk a little bit in a second about water infrastructure. Certainly roads and bridges has been a heavy topic of that, just at the state level, but also what kind of dollars we can infuse at the local level as well. Economy, economic development has been a big topic. I'm sure most of you are very aware of the SOAR fund that was created late last year that allowed for GM to expand their facility in Orion. That fund is looking to grow a little bit here to try and help for bigger projects to bring them or to retain them in the state and grow our work base as well. Safe communities is also a big topic that we're going to see coming up. This is actually also more along the line of infrastructure, things like shoreline erosion, high water research, and then also just kind of build out in communities for green space and things like that. Education is going to be a big topic as well when the budget is all said and done, basically modernization of our schools. We have a lot of older schools out there, and just also student mental health, given a lot of the crises that we've seen as of late. Again, I already mentioned timelines, so we're looking at a couple days this week, one next week, likely June 30th for a final kind of tying of that bow, and then we'll see some supplemental budget action kind of throughout the fall, and then a year-end budget as well, probably in late November.
Sure, so I'll touch a little bit about some of the actions the legislature has already taken this year. Earlier this year, the legislature moved on a roughly $5 billion supplemental. It's actually two supplementals, but we sort of lumped them into one. The big part about the largest chunk of that is money for water infrastructure. You're looking at around $2 billion total spread between several different programs that the state has. You're going to see a lot of money going towards the state revolving fund, and we have some legislation pending in Lansing on that. Should be wrapped up here as well. One of the other big parts about it, $200 million for trails and parks at the local level, another $250 for state parks. There's also money for homeowners assistance fund, money for broadband infrastructure, mainly in underserved areas, more rural areas. But all that to say, a big investment by the state of largely federal funds earlier this year. And I think the intent there was to really look at that money on a generational basis, which is something we're really advocating for, is, hey, you have this money from the federal government, you're probably never going to get this level of money again from the federal government. Now is a great time to invest in the long-term infrastructure that can last 20, 50, 100 years, and what better place than water infrastructure and things like local parks. So, Dave, I think you're going to talk a little about, I'm going to jump ahead.
A couple high-level areas of interest. I should really probably call this the good and the bad slide. So we actually have, for the first time, some very legitimate conversations going on about the restoration of statutory revenue sharing. So back in 2011, really all areas across state government, including local revenue sharing, took a pretty significant haircut. If you fast forward to today, you look at a lot of these line items, you'd see that all of them, except for statutory revenue sharing, have made a comeback. So there is a conversation about creating a revenue sharing trust fund and having a dedicated source for that. And there are actually a couple bills that have been introduced on that just a few weeks ago. Representative Tisdale, Representative Ellison have those. And there are some work groups around that right now. Another one is PPT reimbursement, creation of that local government reimbursement fund. So this is kind of a tag on from last year. At the very end, there was legislation that passed as a part of some of that economic development package that created tax exemptions for kind of heavy machinery and things like that. It created an $85 million hole in local government revenue sharing. And so this would be a fund that basically kind of siphons off some of the existing sales tax, excise taxes, things like that, to backfill what they passed last year. The bad part of all of this, I always like to put up there aggregates and short-term rentals. We never really know for sure when this is going to pop up. We're at the table for a lot of these conversations. To date, we have not really seen a draft or a version of these bills that does anything other than blanketly preempt local governments from having any say in mining regulations or short-term rentals. In point in case, we just learned that tomorrow in House Local Government Committee, they will be having a hearing on these very aggregate bills. They've been dormant for a while, but they are going to have a hearing on that tomorrow. So stay tuned for some info on that. And then the last one up there, we're pretty confident in our conversations. A bill was introduced by a representative that would just basically preempt PPT across the board with absolutely no identification of backfilling that money whatsoever. We feel pretty confident that we've been able to table that bill, though.
PPT stands for what?
Personal property tax.
Thank you.
Yes. This is a very specific project that we've been very involved with for the township. So the Brown, Giddings, and Silver Bell corridor, we've been looking to identify some funding for this to kind of help redo the roads around that GM assembly plant there and down through that corridor. We've had several conversations over the past couple of months with chairs of House and Senate Appropriations, Speaker of the House, Senate Majority Leader, the Governor's Office, trying to identify that remaining gap that's needed for the not just the resurfacing, but an actual complete rebuild on that. So our ask there is $11 million. We've received pretty good feedback to date. I think the next 2 weeks are going to be pretty critical in those conversations to determine whether or not we might have a chance within the state budget or a subsequent supplemental.
At the bridge there?
I'm sorry?
Bridge doesn't need to be redone, but,
Right.
yeah. We have had a couple dozen conversations and trips to Lansing, Sam, Timko, and myself, and DC. And, I mean, the good news is, see, you're so conservative in your approach. It's the $24 million project that we have identified about 10 million or so. So we're down to about 14. Yeah, no, we've identified 14, we're down to about 10. And we had a meeting today in Lansing on this very subject with the chair of the House.
Station Budget Committee for the House.
Thank you.
You can probably fast forward through this slide too, Mr. Supervisor, and then, because right here. So remaining priorities between the governor and the House and the Senate. There's a lot of overlap. You have things like mental health and behavioral health integration. On the governor's side, she wants to see some more funding going towards actual facilities to help with individuals who might have some special needs. On the House and Senate side, the integration component of that would be actually integrating our mental and physical health Medicaid services. There actually last week was a supplemental passed that would fund the mechanism of some of the Senate bills that would create this integration. But I think a little bit more discussion needs to be had there. The gas tax, I'm sure all of you have seen in the news. I think there is interest among all parties to have some type of relief. What that specifically looks like is to be seen. They say third time is the charm. The governor has vetoed twice now a proposal put forward by the Republican-led legislature, but I do think that there is still some interest there. Mike already touched a little bit on the SRF fund, and then again, I'll just say that you can probably look for at least a couple additional supplementals between now and the end of the year for more particular projects that the state budget doesn't typically cover.
Yep, and I think we'd be remiss to not mention that we are coming up on an election. The primary is coming up here the first week of August. Both chambers of the legislature are up as well. The Senate's on 4-year terms, so this is one of those cycles where all 148, all 110 House members and 38 senators are running for reelection. As a result of that, next year you'll see all new leadership, whether it's Republicans or Democrats in majority. Obviously, Republicans are working very hard to keep the majority in the House and the Senate, and Democrats are working very hard to win it back for themselves. The current split's actually a little out of date. It's actually 57 Republicans now. There was a Republican that lost a special election in West Michigan. But we're also operating on new district maps. I think that's something everyone out there should know at this point. The Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission has drawn new maps for the state with data that's come out of the most recent census. So it's worthwhile looking into that and sort of seeing where you may be at now on the map, because they do look a little bit different, particularly in Oakland County. I'd be remiss also if I didn't mention the governor's race. Governor Whitmer's obviously running for reelection, has built a considerable campaign finance war chest. She's facing off against potentially one of 5 Republican challengers at this point. There really isn't a clear front runner on that Republican side of the ticket. You may recall there were 10 Republicans running for governor, but due to a series of issues with petition signatures, 5 of them were disqualified or did not make the ballot. So the remaining 5 are probably a little bit lesser known. As we go into this fall, though, I think that's going to be something that starts impacting a lot of the dynamics in Lansing, and things are going to get a little bit more complex, which I think is in turn part why everyone wants that budget done by June 30th so they can go out and campaign.
And then the last thing I would just say is that we have really appreciated doing the work on behalf of the township up in Lansing. We hope that you have found the information that we provide you informative. We've been working with the township now going on 3 years, and we hope that we have the opportunity to continue to do that work. So we work as a team at our firm. Mike and I tend to do most of the direct contact with all of you, but on behalf of Nicole Nystrom, our CEO and founder, and the partners and everybody else, we truly hope that we can continue to do that work for you.
Thank you. Any questions? Great presentation. I'll give my comments when we get to item 9O, but we've been really thrilled with the support your team provides us, and frankly, a leg up on a lot of these discussions that our other counterparts don't have. So, all right, moving on to paying the bills. We're finally at the point to pay the bills. Clerk Schultz?
I move that we pay the bills for the total disbursement of $1,313,415.37.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay.
And then I want to comment that the bills and payroll duties are administered out of my office, and I want to thank Melissa Bardecki, who is doing an outstanding job with all of those duties, and just want to highlight her tonight. She's a hard worker. She's been in this role for under a year, and she manages to get it all done and does a fantastic job, as we've heard from our auditors tonight.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Clerk Schultz, please call the roll.
Steele?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Dalrymple?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Urbanowski?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes.
Schultz, yes.
Okay, the bills are paid. Now we need to approve an agenda, or no, now we're to public comment. Man, I'm all goofed up tonight. These are for non-agenda items, so if you're here to discuss something that's on our agenda, we'll ask you to wait till that point in the meeting. I'll give you an opportunity. But if you're here to talk about something that's not on the agenda, this is your chance, and we ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes and address them to me. Anyone for public comment? Going once, twice, closed. All right, we'll move on now to approval of the agenda.
So I think the only thing that I'm aware of, Chris, is that we are adding the presentation, or sorry, the proclamation for the ham radio operators.
Okay.
And then we have a closed executive session, and I asked Dan Kelly to highlight the purpose of that meeting.
It's for the purposes of reviewing a confidential legal opinion regarding an interlocal agreement with Oakland County to establish a combined AV board.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other changes? Ms. Steele?
I'd like to bring down item K and M.
9K and 9M.
And then bring them down to pending E and F.
Okay. And I think, because, would it be appropriate, Dan, to have those be, one of the things, they may be affected by the discussion in closed session, to have those after closed session?
Yeah, I agree. Both of those have to do with clerk functions involving the election, and we are talking about that in closed session.
So we'll move those down after 14. Those will be 15A and B. A will be. Okay, any other changes or motion to approve as amended? Mr. Flood?
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Or
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we have an agenda. These next items will all be voted on with one vote and one motion, and they consist tonight of the following 10 or so items. I read them out loud because we do have folks that can't see what we see if they're at home. Tonight's consent agenda consists of the following items. We'll be approving 2 sets of minutes. We'll be setting our water and sewer rates. We'll be approving or receiving and filing our mature called purchases of securities and bonds for our water and sewer and general accounts. We'll be awarding 3 bids, one for our fire station alerting system, one for our fire department fitness equipment, and last for township brand guidelines and gateway design and implementation plan. We'll be purchasing a fiber line connection that will connect Fire Station 3 to this building, as well as a DPW to this building. We'll be approving Camp Agawam Road resurfacing. We'll be appointing a volunteer to our Environmental Resources Committee. We will be hiring 2 firefighter paramedics. We will be approving a tuition reimbursement, and we will be approving that contract renewal for Midwest Strategy Group. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from the board on any of these items? Or if there's public comment on any of these items, if you could please come to the podium at this time. But first, yes, Mr. Flood.
I want to welcome Linda Crane, if we vote affirmative on her appointment to the Environmental Resource Committee as an alternate. That's it.
Okay. A couple from me. First off, the water and sewer rates. We are monitoring the Highland Park situation. There may be an amendment for now, but as of right now, and our Public Services Director, Jeff Stout, is here if there are questions for him. If you read the packet, there are some slight increases. We are simply passing on the rate increases from Great Lakes Water Authority and Water Resources Commission. We're not adding any additional charges. Is that correct, Jeff?
That's correct.
That may be tweaked in the future, depending on what happens in the courts with Highland Park. If you read that story in the paper, it's an interesting one. And then I did mention we're working on this fiber connection that will better connect our buildings, and thanks to the team that's been working on that. And I did mention I strongly support the renewal of the Midwest Strategy contract. They have been extremely helpful in identifying lots of resources for us in Lansing, including financial resources, monies that we've been able to identify that other communities haven't. They more than pay for themselves, in my opinion. So, and then last but not least, I did want to let the chief mention, we have two gentlemen here tonight. Should this motion be successful, they'll be joining our fire force. Do you want to say who they are, introduce them, or should we wait till we vote? Okay. Just in case. Is there any public comment? Those are my comments, just kind of letting the public know some of the items on here. Any other comments from anyone? From the public? Or anything you wanted to share from my directors, our directors? We are doing some road improvements out at Agawam, which has been long talked about, and we did budget for that as well, so.
Is that just milling?
Aaron?
Yeah, it'll be utilizing wrap recycled asphalt and then using a very heavy roller and an excavator and totally resurfacing the road out there, so much needed.
Okay, Clerk Schultz, would you please call the roll?
Barnett.
Yes.
Schultz, yes. Steele.
Yes.
Bernie.
Yes.
Dalrymple.
Yes.
Flood.
Yes.
Urbanowski.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes 7-0, and with that, we have two new firefighter paramedics, Mr. Chief Duke. I'll pass it over to you.
Mr. Chief.
Evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. We've been here quite a bit lately. We've had some movement, and it's not unlike tonight, so we have two new firefighters, thanks to your approval. So I kind of give like a little overview of what it is to be a firefighter, and then I'll call the two gentlemen up. So firefighting is a tough business, as firefighters, more than most other professionals, maybe except for the deputies, of course, need to possess a multitude of skills and talents, not to mention the personal character necessary to properly and respectfully represent our department and profession. Combined with the unique work and living conditions place many demands on firefighters. This creates a long list of traits that are necessary for success. So today, while there are many traditional or essential traits firefighters must possess to find success on the fire ground and in the firehouse, I've come up with a few important ones. There are many, but I came up with only 6. So there's a lot, but I'll try and keep it brief. Number 1 is integrity, doing the right thing when no one is watching. Adaptability, finding a way to change with your environment and overcome various situations. Things are constantly changing for firefighters, from the environment we work in to those we work side by side with, and to the job itself. Number 3, dedication. It is essential that firefighters are hardworking, hard-training people who take pride in their work and want to be the best at what they do. Number 4, being a team player. Some of us like to play kickball. Firefighters are a part of a team. Being a team player and understanding the team concepts is of utmost importance. This means that others are always relying on you to do your job and do it efficiently. When one person does not, the whole team suffers. And lastly, public image. This is probably, along with integrity, the most important, I think. As public servants, you must always maintain a good public image. We are judged by our appearance as well as our conduct. Our appearance is the first and sometimes the only thing people have to go by before forming an opinion. Typically, most people don't call 911 for usually anything good. So we are usually, well, unless it's like a cat in a tree or something like that. But usually it's the worst day of their life. So that's why all these things, like I said, I picked the top 6 that I thought. So with that, I will call Tim Brown and Alan Dorjian down. And it's the same like proclamation I read, so I will just kind of throw both their names in at once, so I don't have to read it twice. So Alan, he comes to us, he's working today. Today is his last paid on-call shift, so he is currently a paid on-call firefighter. And then newly hired is Tim Brown. So to both of you, to all who shall see and hear this greetings, know that by the authority and special trust vested in me and the confidence in the valor, fidelity, and abilities of Alan Dorjian, Timothy Brown, I hereby appoint you to the rank of full-time firefighter paramedic. To this rank as such from the 21st of June, the year 2022. Your desire to excel and to guide others must be boundless. Your appearance must be a model for others, and your performance must be a continual reflection of your sincerity, attention to duty, and moral responsibility. By exhibiting unfailing trust and obedience towards superiors, cooperation and loyalty to your peers, and understanding and strength of your subordinates, You will contribute greatly to the effectiveness and good name of the Orion Township Fire Department, given under my hand, this 20th of June in the year of our Lord, 2022. Congratulations. Now you have to say something.
All right, we need to, it's kind of been a tradition to get a photo. All right, I'll let you say something, and then maybe we'll have all the fire personnel just come stand up here. We'll take a quick photo before we move on.
I'd just like to thank the chief and everyone at the fire station for their support, and the board as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your service that will be continuing for Orion residents.
I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to serve the citizens in the community of Orion.
Awesome, thank you. If you guys want to come down real quick, let's take a quick photo. And the board can just stand up here. And come on.
He's like,
We're busy, But this has become a tradition, and,
yeah. You bring the truck inside?
yeah.
I didn't make it out there yet.
I think we can, but.
No. It's
Kind of just squeeze in here.
Come on in, ladies.
Our official photographer. Scoot to your left, guys. You're all not centered. Keep going, keep going, keep going. There you go.
There
That's,
we go.
that's
All right. Musical
close
chairs.
enough. Close enough. Gentlemen, welcome. Congrats.
Congratulations.
Yeah. All right. We're on to pending business. Pending business, item 10A. See, we got done with a lot of that stuff in 10 minutes. First item on tonight's pending business is Lake Orion Water Control, or Water Quality Control SAD number 2. We have action after the hearing, which we just held. I'll turn this over to Clerk Schultz.
So the public hearing on the cost estimate and work plan was held tonight, Monday, June 20th, 2022. After the hearing is held, the board has the following options: to adopt the attached resolution authorizing preparation of the special assessment roll as presented, or adopt the resolution authorizing preparation of the SAD as modified by removing or adding properties, or drop the project for any reason that the board should choose. So Julie Savard in the supervisor's office has prepared the resolution entitled the Charter Township of Orion Lake Orion Water Quality Control Weed/Algae SAD number 2 resolution to authorize spreading of the roll. It includes all of the parcel ID numbers. It also includes the information how the special assessment roll will be spread. Everything has been done according to what the law requires us to do. Therefore, I move that we adopt the attached resolution authorizing preparation of the special assessment roll as presented.
Support. Okay, moved and supported. I strongly support this as well. I know it's impossible to get everyone on the same page, no matter what we do here. But I think this group of volunteers has done a phenomenal job pounding the pavement and floating on the water. I don't know. But to get the word out and to really educate people, and I do think it's important for the health of our lake. And I just want to say thank you to the volunteers for the countless hours you guys have given. And the plug for your group is that you're having a meeting in our community center, the Orion Center, next Monday, 6:30 p.m. So if anyone's interested, you can become a member. You can show up. You don't have to be a member to show up, right? This is a shameless plug. I'll stop right after this. But if you want to donate $20, you can be an official member. Is it still $20? Jeez, the cheapest deal in town. But the Lake Orion Lake Association is a volunteer group. You see a few of them here tonight that help with projects like this, but also do things like the buoys, maintaining a safe lake, educating folks, boater safety initiatives, working with the sheriff's office and the village police on lake safety, and supporting all the activities on the lake. It's a great group of people that many have become my friends over the years. So I support this, and I think the board probably does as well, but I will stop talking for a minute and see if there's any other comments from the board members. Ms. Steele.
I just want to thank you guys for doing the work that you do, because I think these volunteer roles are not always revered, and that you're not always, people are not always engaging to you and happy to see you when you come knocking on their door, and to persevere is good for the whole community. And I know like there's a lake in Orion that doesn't have the weed control, and their boats literally get stuck in the water, and they have to be rescued to get out of the lake because the weeds are so bad. So, thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Any public comment that didn't, if you already spoke in favor or against, it's on the record. Anything that, the one question that was asked, and I know he left, but was by Mr. D'Agostino. Mr. D'Agostino was just on, just some of the areas that might not be getting covered to residents' expectations. Any thoughts on that, or? I can't answer those questions. Oh, yeah, sorry. Looking at.
I went and spoke with him and went over some of the issues back there in Dollar Bay and reassured him that we'll make sure we follow up a little bit more thoroughly back there. And I also talked to him about, he was really concerned about Marina Park Estates for some reason, which is another district that you guys run. And I talked to him about that as well, so.
Yeah.
Good. I think partly the issue is timing. We're very at the will of weather. And this spring was very cold, and then all of a sudden, we all go outside. So lots have changed in the last month, and I think residents sometimes don't necessarily understand that. But if they ever do have complaints, if they voice them to you or the township, you could happily point them to our direction.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, anybody that's listening, my office administers the special assessment districts. Myself and Sam Timko work with Julie Savard, who oversee this. We aren't experts, but I will tell you, if there's issues, we get questions, we direct them to PLM, and our experiences, they've been extremely responsive with our residents that have concerns and questions, and you guys have been a good vendor. From our experience, again, unless any of us live on the lake, we don't directly are affected by this, but you guys have been responsive, which we appreciate, because it's hard for us to answer technical weed treatment questions because none of us are experts on that here, so.
Well, it's tough for me to come stand up here, so you guys do a great job. So thank you.
Thank you.
I had one other.
Go ahead.
Well, there was one other kind of concern from someone about the timing of when you started, and I guess that since we're bringing those things up and she is no longer here, I kind of wanted to see if there was an answer. Oh, there you, I'm so sorry.
So it's very hard to predict, we draft our schedule for the, the program in March. Sometimes in February, we're trying to, predict weather patterns, months away from, based on last year's treatment results, or treatment surveys, and what we, the knowledge of the lake. Lake Orion's a really big lake, and, not everything grows all at once. You get bays and canals that might grow first, but because of the dilemma of keeping the lake on schedule, because we have 1,000 residents or whatever, as close as that may be, we like to treat the lake the same day all at once to avoid headache and confusion because there is so many residents involved. Most scenarios, say if it was just a spot issue, a person in a canal, yeah, we can make an exception, but you guys are a different animal per se, it's a very large lake. It's our largest lake we work on, and it does present logistical issues such as that. We do our best to try to start as early as possible. Unfortunately, starting in April isn't feasible. You need certain water temperatures, and plants need to be actively growing, and there's just only so much that's in our control. So we try our best. This year, we actually had hoped to move up the treatment a week to, I think, the week of May 16th, and unfortunately, we were unable to do that because of how cold it was. So we actually postponed it a week, and then that brings in a whole nother thing of issues because that flyer we send out has the scheduled date of Monday the 16th, and then we don't show up and we start getting inundated with calls. So it's really tough to predict what Mother Nature is going to throw at us. So we try our best, though. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you for that. Any other comments? And just by way of history, it wasn't said before, I don't think, but this used to be a voluntary participation before Jerry was the one that at least I think came first to us with the others. And so you had people all across the lake here and there treating, and it wasn't really a good overall strategy. So again, I just want to give you guys credit because it's been hundreds and hundreds of hours you've given to something that certainly benefits you, but really benefits the whole community at large. So Clerk Schultz, would you please call the roll? It was moved by Schultz, supported by Flood.
Schultz, yes. Steele?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Dalrymple?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Urbanowski?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes, 7-0, thank you. Next item is a township-initiated text amendment to zoning ordinance 78, Article 19, which is our industrial complex zoning district. This is General Motors. Do you want me to pass this to you, clerk?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so the board action on PPC 2022-22, the Planning Commission at their June 15th, 2022 meeting passed a motion to forward to the Board of Trustees a recommendation to approve this, PPC, why is it PPC?
It should just be PC.
We're starting to change it to PPC because that's the way it is in BSNA.
Oh,
So if anyone ever wanted to look it up in BSNA, we wanted to have the exact same number. So we're starting to convert to a PPC number.
And PPC stands for?
PC has always stood for Planning Commission. BSNA required a 3-digit, so we just made it P.
Planning Department.
Yeah, Planning.
Commission.
The Board of Trustees holds the first reading for PPC 2022-22 on June 20th, 2022. That's just too many twos. The second reading and possible approval for adoption on July 5th, 2022. So you have all the information. You have the red line documents that Tammy provided for this industrial complex change, and therefore we have plenty of information to make an informed decision. I move to declare that the Orion Township Board of Trustees held and approved the first reading on June 20th, 2022 for PPC-2022-2020 or 22. Text amendment in zoning ordinance 78, Article 19, industrial complex IC, and published for the second reading and possible approval adoption on July 5th, 2022.
Support.
Thank you. Moved and supported. Ms. Steele?
I have a couple comments, so I'm hoping that there might be a ability to make a couple changes to these amendments. So I think that overall, I think, the size, changing the size and the height and the parking and the number of workers are, apropos. But I'm concerned with removing the need of them putting the safety paths in. I'm concerned about the 50-foot setbacks and having the road the internal road be a part of the landscaping, and the trees and the tree ordinances, and maybe they can knock some of the trees down, but maybe replace them with additional trees. I think that we have an opportunity here to make this facility look as pretty as it can, while they're doing all the money as they put all the money into this new development. And I think this is just my 2 cents, having a berm with landscaping and having sidewalks and making it look as pretty as it can, because I think those plants, as they age, they are eyesores. And if you look at Pontiac and on the east side, and you can see them from miles away. Flint is another example. If we could do some kind of buffer, and instead of removing these from our ordinance, I think that we leave them and just have GM spend the money. I mean, if you look at what we did for the Baldwin corridor and how a couple $1 million made the Baldwin corridor streetscapes so much more appealing, I think that we don't limit. I think that we maybe even add that they do more instead of less. So I'm not in favor of at least 3 of those items, maybe 4.
Okay, I can give you a little history. I appreciate your input, and I certainly agree with what you said, except that it's not going to happen. So here's the deal. They are investing $4 billion in our community.
Right.
We have had hundreds of hours spent on this already, a year's worth of work, and we actually thought the requested changes would be a lot more significant than this. We are working to, the road funding project that we're working with Midwest on includes us getting funding for a safety path. But some of these things, I have presented to the Planning Commission exactly one time in 10 years. I've been the supervisor, and it was regarding this change, because I wanted the Planning Commission to understand what we have invested so far. And frankly, they're the big, this isn't the time to sort of play chess with GM. It's just not. It's the best way for me to say it. They have a certain expectation. They don't want it to look ugly either. But these changes that they're requesting are, in my opinion, very reasonable. The only reason they're even here in Orion is because, as mentioned in this presentation from Midwest, the state put together a historic $660 million package. So while they're investing $4 billion into our community in this plant, they are getting more incentives than anyone else has ever gotten. And we just can't go back to them and tell them the stuff that we, and this is a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission as well, and our planner, that we have a standing Tuesday meeting with about 30 people, and this project is moving. We can't really go back. So yes, we could say no, but I think that would be not a good thing, because it would push this back, and this isn't the one to push on, my opinion.
I agree with you, Chris, 100%.
I guess being on the Safety Path Committee for the last, 12 years, and the amount of effort that we have to put in to put 10 feet in or 20 feet, and the amount of cost that we have to put forward, and the amount of millages that we have to renew, and the meetings that we have to sit in on, and to have to go backwards for something like a safety path where you should have a safety path on a major road, and that there was an issue where people did ride the roads, and we did lose, there was a white bike on that section. I mean, like, out of all the things, we put our own safety paths on Baldwin Road so we could have a streetscapes, and this would interconnect to all those paths, which would help the economic development and the businesses around there. And so to have them not invest in the safety path, I really struggle with that. They're coming to us, yes, it's a collective, collaborative effort that they put something forth, we put something forth, and having the safety pass actually is even a benefit to their workers, because they can go out and they can walk around their own plant.
They're expecting us to provide that, Donnie. That's our skin in the game. We're benefiting from a $4 billion investment. I would just say,
Why would you change what the requirements are?
this is the only parcel in the township that will ever qualify for IC zoning, so it's specific for this property. And as you know, I am working my tail off. I told GM CEO Mary Barra we won't let them down, and these are some of the things that they expect that we are providing. Lansing Delta Township is giving so much more than we are, so much more. They didn't ask us for these things. So
they didn't ask us for this?
No, they didn't ask us for what they asked. They have guaranteed energy rates, guaranteed water rates in Delta Township, where they're building the Ultium battery plant. They have a whole bunch more commitments. I've been meeting with Lansing Mayor Andy Shore. I hear what you're saying. This is not the normal text amendment. This is not the normal deal. And I think that it's really important that I would really encourage you to consider supporting this, because I think it's important to send the message that we are fully on board. We're not 6-1 in favor of what's happening at GM. And it is a unique and special deal, because they're creating thousands of jobs, and they're going to be bolstering our community for the next 50 years with this investment. There are certain things that they're expecting we're going to provide. And I'm telling you, and I'm telling the residents, we will have a safety path. They're just not going to provide it. We're heavily in the process of finding the money, and we've already identified 14 million of the 24 required. And we've got good commitments from the governor's office and others that I met with today in Lansing, that we're going to close that gap. So I think it would be, I'm just asking you to really consider, I don't think a 6-1 vote would be, I'm not saying I know what everyone else thinks, but it's a unanimous recommendation to approve this from the Planning Commission. And I think this is an important one. That's my plead to you, but I will be done talking now. Is there any other comments from board members? Mike, sorry.
This is the first reading, correct? There'll be a second reading later.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Seeing none, it was moved by Schultz, supported by Urbanowski, to declare the first reading of the text amendments to the IC Industrial Complex zoning ordinance. Would you call the roll, please?
Steele.
No.
Bernie.
Yes.
Dalrymple.
Yes.
Flood.
Yes.
Urbanowski.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes.
Schultz, yes.
That passes 6-1. We'll go on to first reading of ordinance 154 amendments, page 361,
Can I run with it, Chris?
please.
Okay, so the request is to approve the first reading of amendment to Orion Township licensed marijuana facilities ordinance number 154 and set the second reading for July 18th, 2022. Under the township's current ordinance 154 licensed marijuana facilities, all permit applications are required by 154 to be filed in the township clerk's office, which is then responsible to review the applications for completeness and forward to the appropriate township representatives for review. It is requested to amend the ordinance for all permit applications and initial review to be handled by the building department. The township attorney has provided a draft amendment ordinance for first reading. Should the board approve the second reading, a second reading will be publicly noticed for and held July 18th, 2022. You have the information that is confidential from the attorney. However, there is information with the red line of the licensed marijuana facilities showing all the changes, which aren't a ton to be made, but the housing, the intake will take place in the building department, which is a reasonable department because all of the processes for the marijuana are being housed within the BSNA software system for building department. The inspections, the ordinance violations, et cetera, are being done from that department, as well as the treasurer's office. So I therefore move to approve the first reading of I move to approve the first reading of the amendment to Orion Charter Township License Marijuana Facilities Ordinance Number 154 and direct the township clerk to publish said ordinance in accordance with state law and hereby set the second reading of said ordinance amendment for July 18th, 2022.
Support.
Okay, and Chief of Staff Sam Timko assisted with this as well. Building official Dave Goodlow is in support of these changes. He was unable to, he's out of the office today, so he was not able to attend, but if anybody was curious if the building department's on board, they are. Any other comments or questions, Donnie?
On page 301, number 2, it just references on or about December 15, 2017, the township clerk or the township. Is that just history, or is that we have to do a report on an annual basis? It's
Just history.
just history.
It's just a carryover from the initial ordinance.
And so did
Maybe we
this,
can clean that up by the second reading. We don't need any more in there.
okay, thank you. And then we talked about having a system where originally it started with the clerk, and now the building department is the application, then it goes from the building to the planning, or does it start at the planning commission?
No.
It's gonna,
We'll update the spreadsheet to show the flow, but it's basically taking it from going to the clerk's office to the building department, this change.
the actual flow of the
All of
process.
this, all of the approval processes will still be the same, exactly.
Within BSNA, within the system, that anybody can look it up and all?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep, none of that will change. It's just the intake and the issuing of the permit.
thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Public comment. Roll call, please.
Bernie.
Yes.
Dalrymple.
Yes.
Flood.
Yes.
Urbanowski.
Yes.
Barnett.
Yes.
Schultz, yes. Steele.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Well, one more item on pending business. It's on page 391. It is poverty exemption. Clerk Schultz, do you want to take this or you want me to?
The request is to approve an amended resolution to adopt the policy and the guidelines for the township will follow for granting poverty exemptions. The State Tax Commission auditors reviewed Oakland County's equalization assessment rules and has recommended the removal of certain information in the resolution dated to the non-permissible items found in the township's existing resolution. Corresponding changes were also recommended to the township's poverty exemption application. If the township does not make the recommended changes, Oakland County Equalization, as the township assessor, will be prevented from hearing poverty exemption requests at the upcoming July 2022 Board of Review. The township attorney has provided a draft amendment to the resolution addressing the changes recommended by the State Tax Commission. Following the board approval of the amended resolution, the application will be amended and both corrected documents will be sent to Oakland County Equalization and uploaded to the township website. So we have to do this. We don't have an option. When you're getting audited by the State Tax Commission, you do what they say. I move to approve the Charter Township of Orion resolution for poverty exemptions and authorize the township clerk to certify and file same.
Support.
Okay, that's a good summary. I have nothing more to add. Other questions or comments from the board? Any public comment? Roll call, please.
Dalrymple? Yes. Flood?
Yes.
Urbanowski?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes.
Schultz? Yes. Steele?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Thank you. That takes us to item 11, reports, police and fire report.
Make a motion to receive and file the police and fire report.
Support.
Any comments? We've heard a lot about fire.
Yeah, not tonight.
Police, you're busy. Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
By the way, these reports are on our website if you're interested. And a lot of the fun stories get picked up by the Lake Run Review. Anyone who was opposed? Okay. Next report is,
Income statements.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we are required to do this. I want to thank Tandem Graves. General Ledger is housed in my department with my oversight, and so she has provided this information. It's for the period ending 6/30 of 2022, the revenue and expenditure report for Orion Township, and I move to receive and file the revenue expenditure reports as presented.
Support.
Supported by Bernie, heard him first. Thank you. Again, really interesting reading if you're interested. And that's on our website. Any comments from the board? Further comments? Try to get caught up on the screen here. There you go. There's your income statements. Really interesting.
Right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, public comment at the end. Does anyone want to give public comment? No. Board comment. Let's start with Bernie tonight. Mr. Bernie.
Sure. Lake Orion's American Summer starts Thursday with the Jubilee. Pub crawl tickets are still on sale for the 30th. Restaurant week starts next Monday, so there's lots going on. Check out the website, loamericансummer.com, for all the info. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Flood.
I'd like to say goodbye to spring today. Tomorrow at 5:13 a.m., when summer solstice starts, the first day of summer. And I think it's going to be 95 degrees tomorrow, so stay cool. That's it.
Ms. Steele.
I just wanted to make a mention that taxes the bill will be coming in the mail at the end of June. And today we approved the postage, and you should have it by July 1st, and it's payable at the office until September 14th without penalty. And I do want to say that on August 27th, there will be a Pollyant Trail walk starting in Oxford and up to Orion, and it's a free walk, and it is to celebrate the 20th birthday of the Pollyant Trail. So I'll have a flyer on it next week or the next time in the packet, and pass it around to everybody here so they have the ability to pass it. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Schultz.
I want to wish my daughter Shannon a happy 42nd birthday. Pretty amazing to have a kid that old. It surprises me every day. And we are very busy in the clerk's office, but we have help, and I'm thankful for that. Julia Dalrymple has been in our office helping us with people that come to the counter, and she's very pleasant, and she's helping sort through some of the massive applications that we're receiving. So we're trying to get your ballots out to you folks. We're shorthanded in the clerk's office. We've had a number of resignations over the past couple of months, and the entire election team has moved on to other communities or onto other jobs. So be patient with me. If I didn't answer your phone by day 2, I promise you I will call you back. I was working on Friday calls today, but I will get back with you. We are getting tons and tons of requests. We're looking to put those applications in the mail. You'll get your ballots probably about midweek next week. So get them voted, get them back. We're glad to be able to do this for the community. This is a big election. It's important. As we were told tonight, all those seats are changing, and we want everyone's input. Vote. If we could get 100% of our people in here voting, I would be very pleased with that. We have close to 30,000 registered voters in Orion Township. We have 15 precincts located throughout the township, and we're looking to possibly contract with Oakland County to process our absent voter counting board. That's huge. We need their assistance because we're short-staffed, so I appreciate your patience and your support, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim?
Two little things. This Thursday, there is a ribbon cutting for the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce at Cake's Dreamer Decorating Supplies. I've been there. It's a really nice little place. It's at 4:30, starts at 4:30 on Thursday, the 23rd. Free to anyone who wants to come up and join in the fun. And then the other thing is that I met my new neighbor last night, actually. They moved in last weekend, came over and sat in our patio, and I just wanted to, it was a really nice conversation because why did you move here? For every reason that we talk about at everything that you say, Chris, during the State of the Township. We moved here because of the schools, because of the lakes, because of the recreation, because of this, all of the things. So it was really nice. They moved here from Chesterfield, and they have nothing but really awesome things. They tried 12 different homes. They put in bids on 12 different homes. Yeah, and finally got the one next to us, the Lucky Ducks. So there you go. It was just nice to talk to them and hear, that they moved all the way here because we're awesome.
Preach.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Kim. Julia?
Just a couple things. If you have not been out to Wildwood, there's a full schedule of events out there. There were great shows this past weekend, so if you have not been out there, check out the schedule. There is something for everyone out there at Wildwood. And it's such a beautiful facility out there on the hill, especially in the summer, so make sure you make your way out there. And then today marked 118 weeks of giving away food at Forgotten Harvest this morning, so we are still plugging away, and I would say we had a extra load of people today. We were out of everything by the time we finished, and if you are looking to volunteer, let me know. We would love your help on Monday mornings. Other than that, if you need anything, reach out and we will get you taken care of.
Thank you. I have a few. I'll start with GM. As mentioned, it's a project like no other. We've never experienced anything like this. We have standing Tuesday meetings with a growing team, and our staff is ready. We're going to need lots of help to pull off this project because they're going to have over 4,000 tradesmen and women out on site during the course of the construction. So it's a big deal, and we're all in for GM. They chose our community for a reason, and it's going to be something that's going to be remarkable for us to see happen. I'm excited about that, and thankful for our team that will be tested certainly over the years. And look for some, for the board, we'll probably have some intergovernmental agreements coming. I've been talking to other mayors and supervisors about sharing some services. We already do this with lots of communities. So we're not going to bring in all kinds of new staff that we would lay off at the end of this. We're going to hopefully use the support of the area around us. And that's why it pays to have these good relationships that we built over the years. Happy late Father's Day to everyone. It was an awesome day. My sister came home yesterday. That was my gift. I know lots of people and her family, lots of people were cheering on her family over the last few years. And she's finally home from China with her family, and it was awesome. And they're back in Orion Township. So I got at least two votes there.
Yeah.
My nieces and nephew are too young.
Doing good.
She's doing well, yeah. And then just a couple other fun, great events that happened, and then a couple coming to you. We opened up our home plate concession stand. I just have a few pictures that were on my phone. There were videographers and photographers galore, but it was remarkable. Our huge shout out to our deputies who were there all day. They were supposed to come for the ribbon cutting of the new concession stand, and they were having so much fun that they literally stayed for all 3 games. Come out. I think almost the whole board made it out at some point as well. We took in a $100,000 check donation that day, and we raised about another 10 almost, we think. So we're like within 30,000 of having the entire project paid off without using taxpayer dollars, fundraising all of it. It was remarkable. Every Saturday we have games at 11, 12, 30, and 2. So come out, it's really fun. It's life-changing. You see these kids playing that normally get overlooked. And it's at Friendship Park at the Miracle Field. And then fireworks. Fireworks, we have to announce this. We need help. We need help. So Thursday, there are a couple events. Thursday, Summer Sizzle is happening at the Orion Center, right? I think it's at the Orion Center? Yes. Yeah. This Thursday, that's a free township event. So check that out, family friendly. But after that, go to dinner at OPA and support our fireworks. I just copied and pasted this off of the Lake Orion Fireworks Association website, another great volunteer-led organization. They say, red, white, and we need you. We're having a fundraiser at OPA for the fireworks 2022 show, and they are in desperate need of donations so that we can avoid canceling the year's fireworks. That's true. Fireworks are 100% money raised by people that live in the community. So they'll have 50-50 drawings, silent auction, live auction, DJ, $10 a head at the door, proceeds going to the Fireworks Association. It's a nonprofit. There's also a GoFundMe page. That's this Thursday. I'll be there. I support the fireworks. Encourage everyone that can hear me to stop by or to go check out the GoFundMe and make a donation. And, oh, yeah, it was mentioned, Concerts on the Hill. I talked to the Orion Events team literally every single day. They had an awesome weekend, as was mentioned. There were so many good events going on around town, but our free concerts are back. This was Rockstar, which was last Friday, I think. But free concerts are happening tomorrow. You can't see this at all, probably, because it's super small. But the free concerts are every Tuesday, and then the $10 or $15 ticket concerts are available pretty much every weekend from here through the end of summer. And you can go to orion.events, www.orion.events, check it out. But we are introducing lots of people to family-friendly fun. And what happened on Saturday, I guess, was these kids all came on stage, and the band, this was the Red Knot Chili Peppers. They were a Chili Pepper tribute band. But I guess they had this great party with all these kids, and which caused the Orion Events people to change all their marketing to say, cheaper than a babysitter. Come bring your family. And all these concerts are family-friendly concerts. So it's really cool things happening on our hill. Oh, man, I had lots of announcements tonight. Last but not least, Wednesday, this room, at 7 p.m., we'll have our first Homeowners Association Forum since COVID. We usually do these once or twice a year. We bring in all our directors, police, fire, ordinance enforcement, water, to talk to the homeowners associations in the community, answer questions. But one of the cool things that happens is we get lots of best practices shared, and who'd you guys use for snow plowing, and what are you doing with your common areas and things like that. So that's Wednesday, 7 p.m. here in this room. And I know there's only a few of you left, but a lot of people still watch these meetings at home, and so we're trying to reach everyone with that information as well. And with that,
I move that we go to
hold on,
closed executive.
she has one more.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Summer Sizzle is from 6 to 8 at the Orion Center.
Thursday, and it's a free family fun event put on by the Orion Parks Department.
Music, carnival, barbecue, bounce house, and an outdoor movie, all for free. Thank you to the beautiful sponsors that put that event on.
Boom, there it is. We need a motion to go to closed session to discuss attorney opinion, and we will let the public know that we do plan on having, taking some action after that. but we will be stepping out of here until we're done with that.
So moved.
Support.
Okay?
Time?
Moved by Schultz, supported by Bernie. It's 9:01. Or is it a roll call?
Steele?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Dalrymple? Yes. Flood?
Yes.
Urbanowski?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes.
Schultz? Yes.
7-0. We are going to close session where we will adjourn to the boardroom or the conference room. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
You guys can come back. We're going to take action.
Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
That passes 6-1.
So I just have a question before we handle the other one. Has Lene been offered the position? She was going to sign the letter before the meeting? I think she's capable of doing the job. And she obviously wants to work here, so I'm not opposed to hiring her.
Make a motion?
Well, not if it's going to be turned down and I'm the only one saying yes. I'd be kind of embarrassed at this point.
I'll support it.
I move to hire Lene Smith as full-time voter, or full-time clerk 3, voter registration position at the starting rate of $17.83 per hour, full-time, 40 hours per week, full benefits, effective the week of July 11th, 2022, pending results of the background check, physical, and drug screening. Who is supporting that?
Support.
Question?
Yep.
Is that position right here currently vacant?
It is. Meg left.
That's all I wanted to know.
Her
Only
last day
vacancy,
was
right?
Friday. Okay, any other comments or questions? Ms. Steele?
I just would like to make a comment. The reason why I'm going to be voting no on this is I don't think it's the right decision. I believe that the department as a whole needs to be looked at holistically, and that there needs to be a better plan of action to run the department and run the elections for this upcoming season. And so I really, really like Linnell. I think she'll be an excellent worker. However, I don't think the timing is quite right, and that is the reason why I'm going to be voting the way I vote.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
That passes 6-1.
And then regarding the agreement with Oakland County Election Services, I move or resolve to enter an agreement with Oakland County for the purpose of establishing an absent voter counting board and authorize a supervisor to execute and township to record the same.
Support.
Okay. Comments or questions on this? We did reach out to the county, and they are able to take us on if we let them know tonight. So I will, if this is successful, I will let Director of Elections, Joe Roselle, know, and they will take on the AV counting. And it can be canceled after the August primary, if we so choose, by a letter. And Dan agreed with that, or the attorney's opinion. Yes, Mike?
For reference, the county did do that in the 2020 election during the COVID. I know they did in numerous municipalities, so I hope this is only a temporary thing. I'd like to keep this in our township if we can in the future, so we get by this election cycle.
And I appreciate seeking outside help to be able to get kind of like a consultant for the AV ballots during this election. We're in a pinch, and I appreciate you guys reaching out and finding a pinch hitter, so thank you. And so I will be in favor of this as well.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? It's an agreement, maybe do a roll call.
Schultz, yes. Steele?
Yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
Dalrymple? Yes. Flood?
Yes.
Urbanowski?
Yes.
Barnett?
Yes.
And then I have another motion. I move to direct the township attorney to research a possible election, what are you going to call it?
Assistant?
An election assistant and/or a full-time deputy.
Support.
Who supported?
Bernie?
And bring back to the next board meeting.
If not earlier, if necessary.
Okay.
Okay, any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I move to adjourn.
No
Support.
kidding.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.